We said that the middle cerebellar peduncle, the one that connects the pons to the cerebellum, is the most lateral. So here the cutting was made a little too deep, so that's why we do not see this middle cerebellar peduncle. So that's here. Instead we see this is the inferior cerebellar peduncle that connects the medulla to the cerebellum. So you have the middle cerebellar peduncle, then you go make the cutting more deeper. You see the inferior cerebellar peduncle. That's the middle between the superior and middle cerebellar peduncles. That's in between them. And then behind that you see the superior cerebellar peduncle that connects the midbrain to the cerebellum, which is over there. Now we will begin to talk about the ventricles of the brain. So here, this is the cerebrum. You can see the shape of the cerebrum. Okay, and then down here is the cerebellum, and the temporal lobe would be in this area here. So you see there's the ventricle, a very prominent structure here called the lateral ventricles. We talked about the lateral ventricles being separated by the septum pellucidum. So these are the two lateral ventricles. The septum pellucidum is in between them. These lateral ventricles contain an anterior horn, a posterior horn, and an inferior horn. The inferior horn protrudes into the temporal lobes. Okay, the two lateral ventricles, then the cerebrospinal fluid produced in the choroid plexus by the choroid plexus within these lateral ventricles then drains into the third ventricle here via a foramen called the interventricular foramen. The third ventricle lies between the two thalamus, which we said before. There should be an opening here, and that is an opening through which the intermediate mass passes to connect the two thalamus together. So it sort of pierces the third ventricle. Next, from the third ventricle goes through the cerebral aqueduct. So you can imagine the midbrain would be in this area. Then it goes into this fourth ventricle, half of which is pons, and the rest is in the medulla. And then continues as the central canal through the spinal cord. The fourth ventricle also gives off two processes. One goes lateral, two of them go laterally, one to the left and one to the right. Those are the lateral apertures. And what they do is they allow the cerebrospinal fluid to drain into the area on the anterior portion of the spinal cord and up in this area, anterior to the brainstem. And another aperture is called the median aperture, and that drains. There's only a single median aperture that drains the cerebrospinal fluid to the posterior portion of the cerebellum and posterior spinal cord.